I think a major source of misunderstanding about the history of American foreign relations, especially among students, is that it's presented so often in terms of dichotomies, ones that I would argue are false dichotomies. For instance, between realism and idealism, or interventionism and isolationism. If you asked Theodore Roosevelt or Woodrow Wilson or George Washington if they were sort of airy idealists floating in space or hard-headed, cold-blooded realists, they'd say nonsense. I'm neither. Of course, I'm pragmatic, and I'm advancing the interests of the United States in a prudential way. On the other hand, yes, America does stand for great values and ideals. Indeed, simply by defending the United States, we are, in a sense, acting in a sense idealistically. Washington's farewell address, the famous sort of founding document of American foreign relations, laid down the great rule that if the United States remained united and true to its own ideals, but remained aloof from entanglements with foreign powers and wars and conflicts overseas, then the United States was destined to grow into a great nation and prosper. By serving the self-interest of the United States, ipso facto, Americans would be serving the ideals that they believed in as well. Now, Washington's farewell is very often considered the sort of beginning of isolationism in American foreign policy, the idea of no entangling alliances, in Jefferson's phrase, and remaining sort of isolated on our side of the two oceans and so forth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Isolationism is a myth. The word was invented in the 1890s by Americans who wanted the United States to become more involved in the world and even perhaps behave in imperial fashion, gathering colonies overseas and naval bases. And they simply attacked those who were against them and didn't want to do this and thought it was not in America's tradition. Isolationists is a pejorative term. The United States was, except for shunning peacetime alliances with foreign powers, which Washington said is very dangerous, the United States was deeply engaged with the rest of the world. So, no, wait a minute, but then didn't Washington and all the other founders believe that America nevertheless had a great mission, a great destiny to become a continental, perhaps even a world power, and indeed a beacon of liberty to all mankind? Yes, they did. They all did. They all did. But that doesn't necessarily translate into a crusading foreign policy in terms of carrying American power, through war and diplomacy all around the world, or trying to remake other countries. That was not what our original founders had in mind. America was to be an exemplar, a beacon that the rest of the world would come to emulate. And again, the way for that to happen would be for Americans to remain true to their own ideals.